somewhere where you might get killed like super easily. And
They
you had no due
thought about
process,
that.
and you weren't a criminal. You were just like you're being like, and people are sitting on a panel. A bunch of Americans are sitting on a panel calling you a criminal, and then you get deported and you get killed. Like, just imagine being in that scenario. It'd be horrifying, right? Okay.
Look,
They thought about that.
It can just returned. This is simple. The issues of what you call illegality migration has to do with the impacts of foreign policy of the United States and also internal problems in each other countries.
Can we please
For
stop
the past
broadening
30 years, for the past 30 years, I out of those 30 years, I've been working 25 years in my respective country to try to fix those issues. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, now Trump again. Last 5 presidents. Last year, we had 6 major meetings in Guatemala, Mexico, etc.
What's your point, sir?
Yeah, please skip.
Give me a moment. I'm getting to the fucking point.
You've been getting to it the whole time, dude.
While you take your time getting to the point, allow me to let all of the maters know we are going to be shifting over to the gauntlet here in just a few minutes. I will continue to drop the video link into the chat for you to just go ahead and move over now, or you have to wait and catch the raid. There's 180, 90 of you watching. So I expect to see here shortly all of you maneuver over to the gauntlet. I will shut the tomato down. Same show, different channel. Everybody on screen is staying in place.
Do I have to rejoin StreamYard, Sarah, or am I good here?
I just said everybody here on the panel is staying in place. You don't have to move, but the chat does. So if you're in the chat and you're enjoying it and having fun, start moving over. Everybody's already over at the gauntlet. They're moving over there. I will continue dropping the link, and here in a few minutes, I will shut Tomato down completely, and you'll have to catch the raid wave on over. Okay, did so. I think we're all ready to listen to you now.
In simple terms, Wick is too superficial in his analysis. There's things I agree with Wick, and I applaud that he's able to say. But the problem and the depth of the problem is something that has been ongoing for a long time. That's a fact. Now, there are clear undernotes of xenophobia, of racism, and other BS of the United States side that impedes them to really get shit done and fixed. Because if we could get, for example...
Is your point that America is racist? Because you got that across.
No. That's just one of the factors. But it's not the whole factor. I'm speaking in a more broader sense before we get into the whole depth of this whole issue. Because at the end, irregular, illegal, or undocumented migration is happening because of facts, of things that are being done. So why hasn't your country opened the table, and in the last 5 presidents, let's sit down with our governments and said, let's fix this. Because
you're asking questions to things that like we have no control over. Like that is ambassador, presidential kind of.
It's beyond the scope of the conversation. We're not talking about immigration in general. We're talking about immigration enforcement, ICE specifically. Look, there is a conversation to be had about border policies and border issues, but we aren't talking about that today. Today we are talking about once they're here, regardless of why, what do we do?
Okay, so let's put it simple. This isn't the first time ICE has acted like a terrorist group.
How did he maintain control?
Acting terrorist.
Here's this one's to all of you big booty. This one is to all of you big booty Latinas out there, just for Kissy Cat.
This message is sponsored in part by.
And Harry is booting Ditso. Ditso, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to summarize what you're saying much quickly.
Simple. ICE is a terrorist group. It's a criminal association. And it's a federal criminal association that deserves to be punished for violating human rights. That's what they are. And anybody who supports that supports terrorism.
Oh, wow.
Right?
See, he can be concise. He can do it. He can do it. He chooses not to do it.
So
10 minutes in the back did so. Go ahead.
The reason I asked the original
Nampan's so pretty and nice and a
I
good
love
person.
so
Pretty.
Nampan.
What the hell?
Oh my. So the reason I asked the original question was because we all agree that there's a certain amount of rights and there's a certain amount of process that people go through whenever they're being prosecuted for certain crimes. It's not as simple as, oh, you jaywalked or, oh, you did a civil offense, so we're going to get you out of the country as quick as possible with no ability for you to like, that's not how our immigration system is supposed to work. A lot of the reasons that Donald Trump is able, even kind of like has the ability, like the cloak of able to do any of this, is because he's invoking emergency powers. This isn't normal. Okay, the things that we're seeing aren't normal. These aren't normal criminal punishments. These aren't normal civil punishments either. So like there's process that we need to go through, and everyone is so willing to look past that because we just see criminal, and then our like American like tough on crime brain kicks in, and we feel the need to kick them out of the country as quick as possible. That's not how this system's supposed to work.
Jaywalking is a city offense. Crossing the border is a national
Crossing
issue.
the border is a civil offense. It's not a federal crime.
Ringold, I will say that there's a lot of illegal immigrants have built up over the years, and right now it's reached kind of like a bit of a critical point. So right now we should just go and try to get back to like 0.0 or as close to it as feasibly possible. And then after that, then we could potentially go and put forward with new measures after we go and fix immigration law. Because right now it's like a ship that has a lot of water and it's kind of slowly being dragged down, and we just need to bucket it out.
Does Donald Trump have a border bill in place? Does he have any plan other than just aggressive policing?
He got the law as it's written right now.
Yeah, he's abusing
aggressive
policing.
I love how my chat is aggressively policing my panel and booting everybody you're all just getting deported. You're getting fired, and you're getting fired, and you're getting fired from the panel. All right, Ringold, 5 in the back.
This is capital.
I do take issue with Evan's framing here. Like this is sinking our country. I would posit that the response to immigration and the problems that it arises by Trump and by ICE is what's going to be that sinks the ship. We have a few holes in the ship, and they're trying to fix that by taking a rocket launcher and blowing up the ship and saying, in the middle of the ocean, we're going to blow up our ship, and then we'll fix it. Then we'll put it back together once we've blown it all up. No.
But there's another aspect here that you haven't even mentioned. No one here has touched it. The aggressive enforcement has acted as a deterrent to the flood of legals that were coming across the border. Those are the ones that this is actually
a flood of legal immigrants, and it's deterred.
Okay, sure. I'm not trying to conflate the two like you are. I'm trying to make the point of illegal immigration has plummeted.
So, I mean, I think that's a bad thing, but also, again, like Renner was talking about, this is not normal enforcement, right? This is Trump invoking emergency powers to do
this. This is normal enforcement. Barack Obama did the same damn thing.
Did Barack Obama ever invoke the Alien Enemies Act?
Who did Barack Obama send to CCOT? Who did he send to a foreign prison?
To be fair, CCOT wasn't built yet.
But you understand my point. Who did Obama? Because we're not talking about deportations only. We're talking about sending them to foreign prisons, which is a different thing, and let's not conflate the two.
Well, speaking of foreign prisons, ladies and gentlemen, I'm officially shutting down the tomato side. Don't worry, it's automatically set to raid over to the gauntlet. If you're already over at the gauntlet, congratulations. You know how to listen and listen well. The rest of you, 130 of you, let's see, there's 80 smart people over on the gauntlet side. There's still 130 of you not listening and paying attention to what I'm saying. All right, I'm shutting down Tomato. I'll drop the link back in the chat again. Otherwise, catch the raid over to the gauntlet. Same show, different channel.
Who gave you authorization for that deportation act there, Sarah?
I am in charge. This is a dictatorship. I get to fucking decide anything. And every once in a while, every once in a while, I'll let my chat speak and I will listen. Deportation isn't a puzzle. Oh, I did that already. Kissy Cat with the big 5 says, "What about jaywalking across the border?"
Okay,
Shots
Kissy
fired.
Cat should jaywalk onto this panel. I would like to talk to her. Okay, she can. We won't deport her, I promise. But you can.
I
Kissy
think
Cat.
we ought to just adopt a policy, shoot them on the spot before they get across. That would put an end to illegal immigration.
All right, promise me you won't mention napalm, Chuck. Just
Well,
don't.
that's a thought.
Why are we cruel? Can I just have Chuck? Is that your name? Why do you want them to suffer?
Parole, it has nothing to do with parole. It's a matter of gaining control of a situation that's out of control.
So there are multiple ways to gain control of situations that are out of control, and I'm arguing tonight that ICE is making it worse. It is spiraling into chaos, and as I think was mentioned by Evan, or it might have been someone else, this is done on purpose to incentivize self-deportations. They are purposely creating cruel and conditions and causing chaos and saying, if you don't do it yourself, we're going to do it for you, and it's not going to be nice. They're being cruel on purpose and by design.
How are they being cruel?
So one of the ways that they are cruel is by deporting them from schools. So a mother who dropped her kid off at school. Did you see the video, right, of that mother who was being detained by 3 ICE agents crying that she just wanted to see her child? Can you not agree that whether or not you think we should do it anyway, because sometimes we have to be cruel, I understand that, but that is cruel. Can you at least...
I haven't seen actual legitimate reports of ICE raiding schools. Are there some out there?
They were rejected. There was an attempt
raiding schools.
So it didn't happen. It didn't happen then.
Okay, it did. And I can give you examples. Schools.
Now wait a minute.
Churches.
We got one liberal saying it did and one communist saying it didn't. So which is it?
Well, here is what is being said by Ryan in the back. That's 10 from Control. And we got Golly with another 10. That's 20. You need to find some rich fans who can buy you back on. That's what you need. And then another 5, Ryan out. So we're
paragraph before I'm gone for 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll give you that.
Ryan, give up on the chat GPT. Use your own words.
Just because you don't look, okay, Boomer, you don't have to understand chat GPT. It's fine. Like, look, whatever. It's past your time. That's okay. But ICE is they're jailing visa overstayers and asylum seekers indefinitely with no hearings, rushing people onto planes, sometimes to countries they've never even set foot in, under a tweaked Alien Enemies Act. They're yanking TPS from hundreds of thousands without review. They're tearing up student visas for political posts, and they're roping in local cops to profile anyone with an accent. All civil violations are being recast as national security threats, so the administration can skip the courts, skip lawyers, and bulldoze basic due process in real time. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Tell ChatGPT and everyone else where the lie is. All right, Chuck?
Seriously.
Bye, Boomer.
Was it?
Bye, Boomer.
Was it? He just indoctrinated himself through AI.
Ditzo's got about 2 minutes left. Ryan's got 25 in the back.
Squatch, you're talking to no one.
Bear with me just a moment. Alexander,
I personally think that we need to build. Sorry, Sarah.
Sarah's reading.
Jesus Christ, dude!
Don't get in the way of a woman and her money.
I'm just gonna give you that look.
I know. I'm not in the way. I'm not in the way. I always talk over her.
I know. See, Vibe is such a sweetheart, though. He's like, I started a Discord call one night randomly, and I was like, Maters, like, let's jump in the call. And Vibe actually came in, chatted with me, having a nice conversation. We talked about like computer dorky stuff and everything. So he has my heart on that one, and I know he would never intentionally talk over me. Alexander with the big 5 says, what makes you believe that we're at critical mass now? Also, all immigration has plummeted. Any thoughts on that one?
I will say, like, wages have declined a lot for like basic service work, and and there's a lot of young people who can't get jobs. Like, I know, like, a lot of my friends personally, like, they are just coming out of college and they can't even find like temporary jobs to go and just do while they're looking for like their college careers. So that's kind of like
Evan, you don't have friends that went to college. Shut the fuck
Well,
up.
number one, there's too many college graduates.
Holy.
Hold on. One, I don't think there's evidence that wages have declined even for basic service work. I don't think that you can find evidence for that effect. Like from all my reading, wages have trended upward over the last 30 years or whatever. But secondly, even if they have, you still have to find actual causal evidence that like immigration was the cause of that. And we just don't see that. Like we have studies where they look at cities that had a lot of immigration compared to similar cities that didn't have much immigration. And what they find is that like even with like pretty large amounts of immigration, the only people that are really hurt are like high school dropouts. And it's like a negative 1% effect on wages. And that's short term. And long term, you don't see the same negative effects. And we do have evidence, by the way, that deportations actually do decrease employment, because Obama had his program, the Secure Communities program, that deported a lot of people. And we saw that when you deport like 500,000 people or whatever, we actually saw employment go down by 44,000 for native-born citizens.
Well, if people would get off their ass and do a job regardless of the job. Well, that's what I had to do. I started off digging ditches.
True,
you
just
know,
gotta go outside and dig a ditch. That's all
And
you gotta
burning
do.
witches. A kissy cat with a big 10 says Dick Matership. Didn't we come up with this word on another panel?
I'm pretty sure we did.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Mater.
I forgot of this wonderful word. I fucking love it. Dick Matership at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, with my Dick Matership, I apply Jester Alt's $20 to boot. Duck to the bat. He says, nope, duck to the back. And ladies and gentlemen, I did carry over the no duck emoji over on the gauntlet side as well. So if you have a membership, I felt like that one was worthy of the love. And Alexander, again with the Big 10, says, does nobody care about how much it's costing us to deport all these non-criminal aliens?
ICE is $1 billion over budget. $1 billion with a B dollars over budget.
And we're what, 6 months
That's
in?
crazy. That's
Five?
crazy.
5 months in?
They'll recoup that from everything that the illegals are scooping up free of charge.
Hold on. Chuck, let me ask you this: Are you a man who criticizes the deep state, who openly defies the deep state, Chuck? Are you?
If it exists, if it exists.
Okay, so why is it that? And riddle me this: why is it that today the movement that criticized the institutionality of the United States, the so-called deep state, is now today the majority of that same organization, MAGA, supporting a federal institution to enforce xenophobia?
To enforce what?
Racism. He's saying America's racist, but he's saying it differently.
Oh.
I love how you can translate that. Kokomo with the Big 10 says, what leftists can never understand, you can't just let anyone who want it. Let me start that one over. What leftists can never understand, you can't just let in anyone who wants to. The infrastructure and services can't handle it. Any thoughts from the lefties?
Thank God no one's
I don't think anyone
I'm not an
disagrees with
open
that,
borders guy, if I may.
God no
I'm
one
not an
argued
open
that.
borders guy.
Go
I'm
ahead,
for reasonable restrictions on immigration. That's fine. No one's, at least I'm not, arguing for letting anyone in. What I am simply saying tonight is that the way that we are enforcing the people who do get in, whether that be legally or illegally, what we are doing is hurting us as a country. That's my statement.
How's it hurting?
And in simple terms, you benefit more by migration because you obtain people that can do a whole bunch of things for your country than wasting your money and your taxpayers in funding a federal institution, a terroristic federal institution that is acting like thugs, like criminals.
They are not terroristic. They're there by the law of the land.
Deal with it. Deal with it. I don't care how you feel about it.
Make terroristic.
That's a fact. They're a terrorist organization.
No, they are not. I will argue with you all day long, buddy.
You defend the deep state. Okay, good to know, Chuck. You defend the deep state. That's good to know, and that's good to know that. And that's good to know that Trump supporters that are anti-migration support the deep state.
if the law was there was no ICE, then I wouldn't support ICE. I would be fighting ICE. But it's written into law that ICE exists and has a purpose.
Okay. Well, I obviously. Okay. Can we agree that ICE
I'm gonna go
least broken the
hyperbolic
law
on
at
this.
some points?
I'm
They literally.
So if you
literally.
you break laws,
ICE is a terrorist organization. It's a federal terrorist organization. Like it or
no,
not,
it's not.
an organization that are fulfilling.
Tomato, fierce and red, juicy curves,
This message is sponsored in part by.
All right, I just wanted to do that. I wanted to cleanse my palate. Go ahead, did so.
Yeah, no. So, of course, I'm trying to be a bit hyperbolic here, but the point being is that Wick is right. ICE is making
It's true.
worse.
Yeah. I mean, Wick is right about everything, but yeah.
Wick is right at least in that sense.
And also, Wick is very handsome. That's also true. And Wick is very, very
Wick is a
charming.
YouTuber and therefore correct. We are all correct.
The more money you give me, the
Simple.
more correct I become. Okay.
Good. Now you're happy, Wick. But the point being is, yes, ICE is making shit worse because they're having terroristic behavior. And that terroristic behavior is a policy of this administration. Why? Well, that's another conversation. But let's face it. ICE, as a federal institution, they are acting out like ISIS or any other organization.
They are performing legal law.
You would.
Can I address the super chat? Actually?
Yes. Can I, if you want to read it first and then
Michael
address
Douglas for $5.
You have to say it's sexier.
Doesn't get any
You have to
tugs,
say-
right?
Gotta say it's sexier.
Okay, Michael Douglas.
Holy shit.
I can't do that.
You didn't say anything when 10 million were brought in.
I gotta go bar.
Damn. Give me your phone number, Wick. I'm ready.
Yeah, about a few thousand going out.
Okay, stop.
Give me a break. Hands where we can see him, boys. Hands where you too, Sarah. Hands where we can see him. Okay, exactly. Oh yeah. Okay, so one.
Hands up, don't
You don't know
coon.
my position on immigration because I haven't come here to state that tonight. You don't know it. You don't know whether I want more or less stricter enforcement at the border, less enforcement at the border. That's not my argument in here. That's not what we're talking about. Border enforcement is not the same as ICE. Say it with me. ICE is different than borders. ICE is not
It's the same department.
No, it is not. We have the
No,
Border
security.
Patrol, which is a separate thing. They're separate for a
Well, yeah,
reason.
yeah.
ICE is for once they get loose in the country.
Bro,
yes,
you're acting like a dog's running around.
Border and ICE are part of Homeland Security.
No,
They're
this is my problem, Chuck.
two
and I love you,
branches
buddy,
of
because
a
the
different
beautiful,
department.
but you don't know these basic facts of the matter, and it's hard to have a discussion with you because you don't know that there's a difference between these institutions and organizations.
I just said there was. Border control is when they're at the border. ICE is for the ones that get through illegally.
Okay, so
I mean, I would kind of agree with Wick on all of this, but when it comes down to it, right? Like,
Go ahead, Vibe. Go ahead.
We're all over the place right now. Like, we're going from the top, the bottom, everywhere, right? And I think really, if you want to have a proper debate on this, we have to start at the bottom, right? And determine who is like.
At the bottom.
Do we all agree what is illegal and what's not illegal? Now we have illegal people here, and there's a dirty little secret that the United States actually really loves illegal immigrants because.
Well, why don't we just go back to slavery then?
It all matches back. It all matches back to minimum wage, right? So we have minimum wage here. I got to pay like $25 for somebody to flip a hamburger, or I can. I can.
Not the same. Let's be
No,
real.
but what I'm saying is we're all over the place. We have to start at the bottom. We have to start at the bottom of who's actually illegal. And I don't care if you've never committed a crime. If you came here illegally, it's like if somebody gets a drunk driving, they're still going to be prosecuted, even if they're a citizen. If you come over illegally, like this is the bottom level, right? It's the same thing as the drunk driving. You committed a crime, right? We start at the bottom, and then we start working up. We start working up from
You
there.
gotta understand. Hold on, there are different punishments for different offenses, and
Agreed.
we have prosecutorial discretion in America, meaning we sometimes look the other way for certain offenses that are on the books. No one, to my knowledge, even though these laws are technically on the books, are prosecuted anymore for anti-sodomy laws, right? Even though these laws are on the books, right? Even though they exist, we have what's called prosecutorial discretion, where a prosecutor can, using his judgment, say, you know what, it was illegal what you did, but we're not going to go after you for different reasons, for extenuating circumstances. Again, I am not here to argue that we shouldn't deport immigrants. I
agree with you.
So what you're saying is we ought to sodomize
the way
them.
we're doing it right now, the way the Trump administration is conducting itself right now, the way ICE is conducting itself right now, I would say violates people's First Amendment rights, their Fourth Amendment rights, their Fifth Amendment rights, and their Eighth Amendment rights. And
They are not citizens. They don't have them rights.
What I am saying is let's work our way up there instead of jumping all over the freaking spectrum, right? Let's get to that point. Let's get to the point of that.
Sarcastic Warlock with the big 5 says, if you don't wash your underbits, you'll get dictators. Scrub more often. And yes, Dick Maters in the house. Speedy Lee with the big 10 says, nations have a right to be xenophobic, and Ditso is proving why. Boot him. Okay, I'm adding another 10. I booted him on the 5, and now I got to add another 10 on to that. There you go. And then Evan Lord with the big 2. My ears and eyes need a palate cleanser, Sarah. It's going to cost more than $2.
More than 2, yeah.
Come on now. I don't even read them normally if they're 2. I normally just put the 2s on the screen and call it a day. And thank you, Mr. Bill, for kindly reminding me earlier to send to put the StreamYard link up and pin it. I always tend to forget when I switch channels. So thank you.
For something like that. No worries.
Well, you know, when you're a dictator, you forget things.
Yeah,
So
that's.
Wait, what's the punishment for breaking and entering? You were talking about punishments for crimes. What's the punishment for breaking and entering into somewhere you're not supposed to be?
Depends on the state. Depends on what.
At my house, it's death.
Yeah, it's depending on your situation there, but in most places, it's
context.
at least
You understand that all breaking and entering is treated the same. Correct.
Well, it's kind of the point, right? Like we have to stair step up all the way to ICE. And by the way, Wick, you're my favorite lefty, and I don't even know if you're a lefty because you are very intelligent. I love the way you go, and I want to get up to ICE. But the very
Wick,
first thing
are you more
do,
left center?
I'm left of center, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
I really enjoy listening to Wick. Okay, so I'm far right, but I still love you guys.
Or just go do it. I love the verbal fellatio. Continue, please.
I'm slightly right of Attila the Hun. I believe we should all do what I say, but if we're not going to do that, let's work out this voting thing and make it fair.
But I want to build up to the ICE on the ICE statements he's making, and we're all over the place, right? We're talking about
you got to put water in the ice tray, and then you got to get it cold.
I just always put you need building blocks.
Golly sent another 20 and says, keep Coder back there. We're going to keep you cold in the back, Ryan. I added the other 20 on. And Evan Lord says, fair enough, Sarah. Let's get a stronger cleanser. Which one do you want, Evan? You want the horse? You want the butt shaker? You want the ballerinas? You want dealer's choice?
You better not say fireman.
Dealer's choice.
You want the fireman?
This message is sponsored in part by...
That one's crazy.
Sponsored by Evan Lord. All of you fine gentlemen, not only in the chat, but on panel, please say thank you to Evan Lord for that sweet,
thank you, Evan.
palate cleanser. All right, back to you, fine gentlemen. I'm going to tinkle. You'll be good.
Holy, that was
okay, now that he's gone, the ritual can begin. First of all of you who disagree with me, you're un-American, and I'll deport you immediately once I become president of these United States. Second of all, right, Vibe, I am your favorite, just in general, and that's okay. And I should be.
I'm your favorite, right?
Third,
on the right.
Third, look.
Now look, you guys can get a room. That's okay.
Is for sale. I am a capitalist, sir. Whoever gives me the most money is my favorite. So you can get that status, but you have to do the work. So thirdly, I just want to hear a good argument from any of the people who disagree with me tonight of why you're okay and why you trust a federal organization such as ICE to not have to show their faces, to not have to show warrants, to not have to show badges, and not have to wear uniforms, and to be able to be empowered to arrest and detain people. Why are you okay with the government having that power?
Called undercover.
The Democrats fucked it up.
The police aren't doing their jobs, so we kind of need to go and have people that can go and operate beyond the police, because the police aren't working with them in a lot of cities.
It's not the police's responsibility.
How many decades did we let this happen?
Jobs? I would argue that ICE isn't doing it isn't doing its job of deporting violent criminals. They are specifically going after non-violent criminals, which is
They're
not what
still criminals.
Okay.
They're still criminals.
Let's look at it this way,
Get
right?
all the jaywalkers
So-
out of here.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the drunk driving, right? I get pulled over for drunk driving, and they go, "Oh my God, you have no criminal record. Keep on driving." Like, I mean, they came illegally, and this is why I keep on saying we have to start at the base, right? And let's build up from that, right? So we have illegal aliens that came here illegally. We have legal people that their visas expired or what happened. There's so many stair steps into this whole legality. And by the way, on whether it was Democrats or Republicans, every one of them have failed to do it right. Like I'll say Republicans are failing at it. Democrats failed at it. They're multiple tiers. So if we argue from the bottom and go up, then maybe we can get to a conclusion here.
Donald Trump is also failing at this. He is not adhering to the laws that bind his power in these deportations. He is failing
and
at
so did every president before this.
No, not at least not
not
nearly
to the degree
same
that Trump
extent.
is.
Okay, not from. How did Biden not fail at this?
I'm not
Biden-
saying whether or not Biden did or didn't.
Hold
fail.
on,
I'm
who did
saying that if you're
Biden
defending
send to a
Trump's
foreign
policies-
prison? Who did Biden send to a foreign prison? Who did he deport there without a trial?
No, I'm asking not from how Biden failed on this.
Okay, but
Trump-
we understand they
this is
failed in
Trump's
different.
policy.
Hold on, just real quick, vibe. I understand what you're saying, but would you acknowledge that they failed in different ways? Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think every
yes,
political party has been
good.
failing.
I'm trying to build something with you here, right? Okay, so carry on. So you agree with me that they were failing in different ways, that the Trump 1 failed differently than Biden did, then failed differently than Trump 2 has, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So we can also look at the ways they failed and say, well, hey, this way of failing is worse than this way of failing. We can measure these things. We can judge these things. We can look at the metrics and see which one has had a bigger, worse impact and which one has had a less worse impact. Correct? That's something we can do.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I mean,
think so? Why not?
Because there's been a long-term failure on the government side on handling this.
Okay, but again, I disagree with you on that point, and this is where our disagreement is going to be, is because I think that we can look at the ways that they've done wrong and say this is less wrong and this is more wrong. And my argument tonight that the way Trump is doing it, regardless of what you think of how the other people failed, is worse than Trump 1, is worse than Biden, is worse than Obama, is worse than Clinton, is worse than Bush, is worse than Bush 1, is worse than Reagan even. It's at another level. It's worse. Now, you could say that the failures of the others have enabled it, and I would maybe even agree with you on this. The executive has been eating up more and more power for my entire life, okay? Right? The executive branch has been gobbling it up like it's a buffet, like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. In Congress, spineless cowards that they are, have allowed it, okay? I agree with you. But this is the problem. I can't turn back time. I don't have a time machine, but I can address the issues with
Jim
Trump.
Croce.
And before anybody responds to the chat, DGen Power Hour begins in 15 minutes, actually slightly less than that, but only if you fulfill the goal. You've gotten your 2.5 to 3 hours already. Hit the goal and we will keep pressing on, but you have to hit the goal. So you got 0 out of 10 right now. Actually, I will apply because this super chat came through right as soon as I set the goal. So I will apply that 1 extra in there. So you got 9 more to go. Hit the goal or we shut down. I want to keep going. This is getting really good and feisty. I don't know about you all, but I do. Michael Tuglas with the big 5 says, "Hey, Wick, I say we use prosecute."
Say it sexy. I had to say it sexy. You got to read it.
Michael Tuglas with the big 5. "Hey, Wick, I say we use prosecutorial discretion for Trump's illegal deportations. What say you?"
Well, with that, I don't know how I can disagree. No, what does that mean? What did you just say? We use prosecutorial discretion for Trump's illegal deportations.
Yeah, like violation
meaning that Trump deports less, meaning that we don't prosecute Trump. What do you mean? You got to clarify, buddy. Spend more money to do so.
We just put a little pause on the Fifth Amendment. All right, just put a little pause on it, and then we'll be good.
And Ryan, you got an extra 10 in the back, and I love how he was such a good sport about it. He's telling people thank you for supporting the channel, and then additionally another 5 minutes added on. 1, let's see, 2, 3, 4. Oops.
Damn.
I need him at 30.
I thought I was the only one that gave him the boot.
Right. Your TikTok is now up to 34 minutes with time ticking down and time added on. Kissy Cat wants to keep on pushing. We will keep on pushing. And you know what, Kissy Cat, this one's for you.
This message is sponsored in part by...
I'm not sure why, but every time I see that one, I wipe my mouth.
Fair enough. Ditso has 2 more minutes, and Duck has returned. I guess he wants to continue supporting the show.
I have a question. So this is for the brave, and I know a lot of the MAGA folks here are going to be a little frustrated. They're seeing a democratic socialist like Mamdani. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more in the future about him. He's winning New York.
Don't get me started on that clown.
Chuck, I'd love to hear your take on this, actually. So I'm just curious, how would we expect a United States sort of national platform to look like when, in reality, if we don't have immigrants in our country and small business owners, employers, managers, investors don't understand these people as their customers, as their coworkers, as homeowners, as people getting advanced educations, how would we expect to have a platform in the first place?
I'm sorry, I have to respond to this. I don't think the United States limits anybody coming into this country. We're just talking about illegals. That's it. Nothing else.
Nothing against the legal people. Hell
we educate the Indians. We educate the Chinese.
There is one
everybody. We let them in. If they want to get a visa, we keep them.
If you're a criminal in your native country, usually default any attempt at a visa. Typically,
it is pretty hard to.
This is a very open
legally.
Country.
Like we do have, a lot of restrictions on that. We cap how many people get green cards every year. We make, there's 14-year waiting list for some countries, right? Like, not that justifies illegal immigration, but
there's not a 14-year waiting list
to
for the United States. There is not a 14-year waiting list for the United States. You can get here.
I'm pretty sure there actually is.
For some countries,
there's a long wait.
It might be even longer in Mexico. It depends on what type of visa you're getting, obviously.
Post that in the chat. I want to see that. I don't believe that. I came here.
Remember when you had 5 years to get a court date?
What has been posted in the chat is by Duck. Duck has now 25 minutes in the back. Shots fired. Gestural just does not like Duck on screen. And Kissy Cat adding more to the goal. You guys have 6 more to go, and you only have 9 minutes to do so. So hurry up, get them in. I want to continue on to DGen Power Hour. I'm sure all of the panelists do as well. All
and
right.
I will throw out a shout out for Kissy Cat. She's always awesome.
She is.
And by the way, Wick, I always love talking to you. I think you're one of the most rational right guys, left guys I talk to. So.
Man, why don't you guys get a room and get it over with?
Yeah, the haircut like a centrist now.
Just give him a date. Go ahead. We got time.
Vibe.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Who is Wick?
Vibe and Wick. They're definitely copacetic.
No, I don't agree with him at all, but always love talking to him. So there we go, Wick. What's up?
Hey, buddy. I appreciate the words. I don't want to lead anyone on, though, so sorry. I'm only in it for the ladies, but I do appreciate your words. And honestly, no homo or anything, but it does make me feel good that people actually listen, right? And I feel like we are in a situation in America where our brains turn off when we hear certain words, right? You hear a certain word or someone starts to say a point, and then you assume it's going to be something. And so your brain turns off, you stop listening, and you start formulating a response, right? And I think that that's harmed discourse. It's been great for dunks, great for debates, but I would argue that kind of mistrust of our fellow citizens is part of the reason we're in the problem we're in. So thank you. I do appreciate that, sir.
Well, now that we're on the one-on-one,
far away. Okay.
Right?
Say one more time.
Now that we're on a one-on-one, because it's just you and me right now. Do you realize that?
It's true.
And we've got like romantic music in the background, so that's a little extra. But hey, so do you not agree that like we should look at this? I mean, I've seen the ICE things, right? But I want to build to that in our debate. So when this 2-on-2 is done, we have to actually start at the very beginning, right? We have to start at immigration. We have to look at like what's illegal, what's not legal. What are we doing? What does the United States actually think about this? Minimum wage totally fits in that when we actually say, okay, are we actually allowing immigrants in here? Are we not?
I agree with you that I think that this takes the conversation in a direction that does not solve the immediate problem. I agree. This is triage. We have an immediate problem, and that is ICE. ICE is acting in such a way that is putting fear into citizens, not just illegal immigrants, but to citizens. We're in a situation where I know people who look like they're from other countries, who refuse to leave the house without having some form of proof of their citizenship on them.
So do you know the percentage of that?
Americans shouldn't have to carry around to the park identification, their papers. We shouldn't live in a country where the government can force you basically to have papers on you at all times or else. I think
I hate to tell you this, even if you're legal and there were no illegals, that actually is a law.
No, it's not, unless you are driving or operating a motor vehicle. If I went to the park right now without any ID, do you think I would be breaking a law?
No,
answer my question.
And no.
I'm walking in a park.
Well, I am answering your question.
Am I breaking
So if
a
you're
law?
suspected for something, you do have to show identification.
No, you have
as
to
long as they
yourself, which is different.
No, if they actually suspect you,
you
have to.
You don't have to have papers on you. I promise you don't.
No, if you're not suspected of anything, you don't have to have papers on you.
Even
you
if
are
you're
correct.
Suspected.
No,
how
yeah,
would
if
I?
you're
How would
suspected,
that
yes,
even make
you do.
sense? How would I even know I'm suspected of something?
Well, they would have to show the burden of proof.
Okay, if the cops came to me and says, "Hey, there was a guy in the area. There was a report of this handsome, bearded genius that was going
And we
around
know that's never going to happen.
Women, right, and stealing from them." Okay, that's not my problem. I mean, they have to. Even if I don't have ID on me, the only thing I have to do when they ask my name, I have to identify myself. I have to answer their question, but I don't have to have papers on me. I don't have to have ID on me. I don't have to have my birth certificate on me. The only time I need some form of identification is if I'm operating a motor vehicle or if I'm in some sort of like the airport or something like that. But like in a park or anything like that, I absolutely do not have to have ID.
No, you don't have to have ID. You just have to, if you are going to be detained, they do have the right to get your ID. That's it.
Okay, they have the right to identify you if they detain you, but that's a different thing. That's not what you're implying. What you're saying. What I am saying.
I'm not implying that. I never was implying that.
Hold on. What I am saying, and my point that I'm trying to bring about with this, is there are U.S. citizens who look like they're from other countries, but who were born here, who now are afraid to go outside and walk in the park
because they look different.
ICE will mistake them for a legal immigrant, and if they don't have their papers on them, they will.
Okay, how many times has that actually happened? How many times is because I somebody looked like they were from Iran, that they got detained, and they were born in the United States.
Here, I'll give you a video.
Give me the statistics. Don't give me a video.
Okay, we don't have the statistics because ICE doesn't release that information, because you know why? They don't have to identify themselves. There's no way we can track that because they don't have uniforms. They don't have badges. We can't track this information. But just because I can't, that's part of the problem where ICE is operating in a way that we cannot track them. So we cannot hold them to account when they do these things because they have obfuscated how they're acting, and we can't know if they're acting correctly or incorrectly. And it's very important when we trust the government and government organizations and give them power that we, the people, be able to hold them accountable and be able to track their actions up to a point. I do not think it out of line to ask that ICE, before they deport someone or detain someone, have to show ID themselves, have to identify themselves with a badge or an identification number or something. So if they do it wrong, we can hold them to account, just like regular police do. We ask this of regular police. Why should we not ask it of ICE as well?
I think we should. I mean, I think
okay,
I should be completely responsible for that. But
I love it. This is why I love you, Vibe. Okay.
And I have seen some videos, by the way, and I am appalled by some of those videos. However, that's a 1% of ICE. It's not 100% of ICE, right? This is not the standard procedure. We can always find where humans are not doing the correct thing, right?
Prosecuted for any of that.
But what I would tell you is that ICE is the standard procedure is anybody that doesn't look like the idealized U.S. citizen, white, tall, blonde.
Oh Lord!
Oh God!
Hey, look, I cited in the back chat 2 U.S. citizen children were sent on the mother's deportation flight to Honduras without the opportunity to speak with attorneys, leaving a 4-year-old boy with stage 4 cancer without access to his medication, according to the National Immigration Project. Gracie Willis, an attorney with the organization. That's just one example of the many that have been happening for the past 6 months.
Wait, they have enough money to go and treat cancer, but they don't have enough money to go and get some basic citizenship?
No, they were U.S. citizens. They were U.S.-born citizens.
U.S. born by who? What was their parents? Were they?
That doesn't matter. The status of the parents does not matter once a person is born in the United States.
We acknowledge that if you're spending money on cancer treatment, that's money you can't spend anywhere else, right? Like you need to pay that money in order to survive, and you can't pay it anywhere else.
Look.
They could have other use for that money if they have enough money to make.
So they should stop paying for their cancer treatments?
They should have money to go and stay there to be able to go and live their lives without
overpaying for their cancer treatments.
I understand where Vibe is coming from, that we should start from the bottom, that then it creates a whole conversation about the policy, about the paradigm, etc. Great. But right now, ICE is a state-funded terrorist organization, and they're acting like
one more time, and maybe we'll believe it this time. I'm sure if you say it with enough conviction and vitriol and hatred for America, we'll all fall to our knees and agree that Jitsu has found the key. He knows the racism of America, and we must forget.
Sasquatch, I know that you can't comprehend that criticism is not equal to hate.
Yeah, that's called you lose.
Hold on. That your rhetoric only works to certain degree to certain.
I'm not the one here delivering rhetoric. You are.
No, you are with the rhetoric. Of
No,
course,
I've asked
issue rhetoric.
one of my points has been by asking you a question that you have yet to answer in a succinct, fashionable way.
What is the question? Say it again, because I've answered it in multiple ways. But you don't want to listen. You never want to listen.
I just want to say I love animals. And the fuck it button sends a big 5, says you are impressively delusional. No citizen is scared of ice. Glasses. All non-citizens have no opinion here. D's.
Shit, just wrong. Read the 14th Amendment.
Freedom of speech is applicable throughout the whole
Can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment to recognize the Dunning-Kruger effect here? People who have no knowledge of the situation, no knowledge of the amendments, who've never even read the Constitution. I would bet money that this man has never even read the Constitution. Coming up with their $5 saying, "You're so delusional, guy," who's cited all his sources, who's used examples, who's given a very, I think, strong argument onto my points. But I'm just going to tweet at you that no citizen is scared, and I said it, so that must make it true. Look,
one quick question.
Fuck it button. Is that your name? Fuck it button. It's fuck it button. It's going to be fuck it button. I don't know if it's fuck it button.
One quick question.
Why don't you just come on? Hold on. Stop. Why don't you just come on? It's an open panel. Just come on and you can tell me why I'm impressively delusional. I'm sure that you'd be able to withstand the slightest pushback. I'm sure you wouldn't crumble or melt like a little snowflake. So please.
So Wick, how do you
welcome you?
How do you resolve this situation?
Let me add in, right now, Duck was bought back up, but I need to boot somebody in order to do so. So
I'll go back further if you want to bring him up.
Oh, you didn't have to. I was going to ask Just Gerald, who paid to bring him back, if he wanted to select somebody specifically to boot in order to get Duck back up. So we'll leave it to the chat for Just to lay his claim and say, unless you gotta like do something, but
you gotta go.
he gotta go poop. He gotta go poop. All right, so Rinyald to the back. Hold on just a second, and Duck back up, and then I also have backstage 007 who's waiting patiently for his time to shine on panel. So somebody has to be booted in order to do so. Kissy Cat says Umbreon is making the best points on panel. I agree. All dogs that show up on our show, or cats, I'm more partial to dogs, but the dogs always win here. And Speedy Lee with the big 5 says, deport all Chihuahuas.
Ow.
Yeah, little ankle biters. Little ankle biters. It's okay.
Can we go back to something real quick?
Yep.
Wick said a while ago that ICE is $1 billion over budget.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll up the private chat there, you'll see that I posted something where for each year legal immigrants are in the United States, it costs the federal, state, and local area $150 billion to take care of them.
And how much do they bring the economy?
What's $150 billion minus 149?
Okay. How much do immigrants help the economy? How much do they give to our GDP?
Should illegal immigrants put into taxes?
Non-fun should know this. Non-fun. How much?
Immigrants or illegal immigrants, sir?
Immigrants.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on it depends on what type of immigrant, obviously, and it depends on how you want to measure it. So I would just say, like, if you're concerned about like states, having to spend welfare on these immigrants or whatever, well, we should look at what type of taxes do these immigrants pay. And like the CBO has a really good study. Like they estimate that like the immigration surge under Biden actually would end up reducing the deficit by $900 billion over 10 years because immigrants.
What's $900 billion minus 150? Only Mr. Bill.
We're talking about illegal immigrants that have a very
I rest my case.
No, it's again, like first of all, when you guys say illegal immigrants, most of the time you just mean asylum seekers, right? And like you can, I agree, there are a lot of asylum seekers who are making fraudulent asylum claims, but asylum seekers get work authorization
after
being in a country for 90. What? Sorry.
That's the ones we're talking about. We're not talking about the refugees. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about illegal immigrants who do not qualify for asylum and have not used the proper channels to enter the country.
How many? Okay, so when you guys cite these numbers, like 10 million people crossing the border or whatever, how many of those people do you think are like gotaways who like evaded border patrol versus are just claimed asylum and are in the country awaiting a court date?
Well, as I understand it, for the past like several years, they were all gotaways. They were pretty much just
absolutely not true. The vast majority of them, they were like, I think they were like,
right? Yes.
Catch and release implies that you are catching them and they get assigned a court date and they are released to the country.
Not dehumanizing, but yeah, they're like fish. You have fish, you catch and release it, which is all the fish that went by.
My claim here is simply like you can disagree with that policy, and like I think a lot of people claiming asylum don't have valid asylum claims. I think they are just coming here to get a job. But my only claim there is that when you claim asylum and you're awaiting a court date, you get work authorization after being in the country for I think like 90 days, and those people pay taxes. They are allowed to work legally. Like, they contribute to the economy, so they're not like there's no good evidence that they're a net fiscal drain.
Well, let me get in there real quickly. Hold on. Let me get in there real quickly. Put a link on the back of the chat. I'm just quoting from that link. Undocumented immigrants are essential contributors to the economy, following the American Immigration Council.org. In 23, undocumented immigrants households paid $89.8 billion in federal, state, and local taxes and held $299 billion in spending power. In total, immigrant, both legal and undocumented or illegal, so you guys call households, paid nearly $16.80 in every $100 tax dollars collected by federal, state, and local governments, funding a wide range of social services that benefit all citizens. So if anybody has data that counters this, please go ahead and bring it up. Tell us exactly how
the wages of the entire American economy, basically, and the wages go down. That means the rest of the people that are here legally, they don't have as much money to spend because their wages went down. If the illegals weren't here, guess what? Their wages and their spending ability would go up. Thank you.
So the whole point of your argument is xenophobia. It's because this guy's coming here illegally, we are making less money.
That's what we mean by one-track mind, sir.
And that's not. It's not. Where's the data proving that? Where's the facts of that proving that?
You don't actually have good data that immigrants are like decreasing native-born wages. Again, I talked about this earlier. We have studies on this. There's good economic theory behind it. Immigrants sometimes will decrease wages for unskilled workers like high school dropouts, and even then, it's a pretty minor effect. Even George Borjas, who I think makes quite a few bad assumptions, but he's the biggest like anti-immigration economist. Even he will tell you like, oh, wages are not hurt for anyone but high school dropouts.
Also, hey, like, listen, I'm not a big econ guy, but I'd imagine that if you're giving these like companies the ability to bring in more workforce, and if the economy is getting larger and companies are getting bigger, then that's also going to increase wages. That'd be my guess. I don't know, maybe not. But
let me cite again this particular link. Immigrants inject trillions of dollars of housing wealth in the United States. The vast majority of immigrants are not dependent on state governments to guarantee them with housing. In reality, they're putting back let me finish. They're putting vast sums of money into the housing market and revitalizing neighborhoods. 2 years ago, immigrant households paid over $167 billion in rent in the housing market, over $6.6 trillion in housing wealth. So again, where's the data that represents all those things that you're saying, that it affects the local economy, etc.? It increases it. It injects into it. So again, the consideration on the economic analysis of legality or illegality is irrelevant.
And speaking of who's got an echo? Someone's got an echo going on. But speaking of money, JB says, bye Ditso. And M. Dave, where you been? Sends another 5 to solidify the boot with a full 2 minutes backstage, Ditso. Hang tight. And then a sarcastic Warlock says all illegal immigrants can stay after serving 2 years in a labor camp for the purpose of character assessment and re-education. Ditso would wash out.
Good question. Would
And
I'll let you
another 5 added to Ditso for the SAS. Go ahead, Wick.
Is that the gulag by another name?
Man or woman, I don't know, who just mentioned like 2 years service in a labor camp would get them citizenship or let them stay. Would that count for serving in the military? Because again, there are plenty of immigrants who use that as a path to citizenship, who serve in the military for a time in hopes to get a better chance of becoming a citizen, that are also being deported, right, by this administration. And that is shameful to me. And there's the story of the Afghan interpreter, who wasn't serving in our military, but served with us in Afghanistan, who interpreted for us, who put his life on the line. And we promised him, okay, we're going to keep you safe. You can come here. You can have asylum. That's been stripped, and they're going to deport him. And I think that's shameful. I do.
I agree. And I shed a single tear in the shower for that man.
You're up to 20 minutes in the back now.
I want to hear from 007.
Go ahead, 007.
So, what you were saying about it not affecting wages, or only affecting wages for high school dropouts, why the fuck should high school dropouts have their wages reduced because a bunch of immigrants have come in? I used to work in, I'm a college and a university dropout, and I used to work in construction, and I had a short spell. I had a serious car accident. Was in hospital for a long time, and then was in prison. And then when I went back to construction, the wages were less than half of what I'd been earning before because of immigrants. So
I mean, it's just a
why is that okay?
Yeah, it's just a question of costs and benefits, right? So if we're weighing the costs and benefits of immigration, well, let's look at, some of the costs they have, like, high school dropouts wages go down like 1%. It's like, okay, let's compare that to the benefit. Well, our working age population,
not 1%, not one. Didn't you hear me?
You don't
50%.
Yeah, I'm not.
How do you know that the 50%
I take the
decrease was immigrants?
Well,
right.
I guess it must have just been a coincidence.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. So exactly, you don't have very good evidence that. First of all, I think if we look holistically, construction wages or whatever have not fallen 50%. I don't think there's evidence of that in the first place.
So, do you live in England? Do you live in the UK? Do you live in the UK?
I don't live in the UK. No.
All right, so you don't know fucking shit.
I'm not familiar with the UK data. Okay,
you don't know anything.
Hold on, no, this is important. This is important, right?
You don't know anything about the UK.
Other countries that have different issues than America right now. I can't speak to those countries. I just don't know. So that might be true with England, with the UK, but it's not true for here. That's all I know.
Well, I know that what I'm seeing in the UK is a complete change of demographics in towns and villages, in rural settings and stuff. Complete change of demographics. Now, England's a lot smaller, obviously, much smaller than the US, but we've been dealing with this illegal immigration for the last 20 years or something, and we've got I don't know how many over there now. Now, for them to do that in America is going to be a lot more difficult, but it seems like over the last 5 years there's been a massive increase, and you've had a lot of Muslims and stuff moving in. This immigration, I'm the result of immigration. My granddad fought in the Second World War for the Germans, got captured by the English, stayed over, had an affair with my nan. My mum was born, and here I am. I'm a quarter North African, so I'm the result of immigration, but not illegal. It wasn't illegal immigration. He was captured, he was shot down, he was captured, he stayed in hospital, and then he stayed on legally afterwards, after the war. Immigration is a great thing, man, but under no circumstances whatsoever ever is illegal immigration a good idea. The British Crown has used it as a tool for basically color revolution to destabilize. They've been using it for the last 200 years all over the entire earth.
I don't think that's
Beautiful
true.
monologue.
I think that that the idea that there's some, first of all, that the government would be competent enough to pull off a plan like that beggars belief. I just
government
don't think
do what they're
government can
told
do
to
that
do.
well.
No, government do what they're told to do. If you think the government are thinking
tells
up
the government
any
what to
of
do?
their plans at all, they're not. They're doing what they're told
Can you
to
be
do.
very clear with
Who
what
tells
you're
the government
saying?
what to do?
What group is doing this? If not the government, what group is doing this and why?
I have a feeling I might know.
I don't know, but sarcastic warlock says my labor camp is not a gulag, sir. It's a tortilla.
It's
Now
me. I'm the one doing it.
hungry.
I had a tortilla actually for dinner. It was delicious.
Me too.
I have some guacamole and tortilla chips upstairs. I might
Get 'em.
be inclined to go
This
get
is
some here shortly.
Immigration got you that. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Oh,
right?
I'll get
That's
some
cultural
salsa
mix.
too.
It's cultural
Let's
mix.
do it. And Ryan's
Sure,
still
they
hanging
could've
backstage. He's got 23 minutes left with all that time you guys were adding on. Poor Ryan, 23 minutes. You can buy him out right now. Buy him out.
Wick, to answer something you said before, you asked for an example of a high case where a immigrant or like someone was deported or denationalized because of like rapping about terrorism and stuff like that. There's
For
been
rapping,
several,
not about terrorism, just for rapping.
There's several Canadian
Rapping about support of a terrorist group.
black rappers that have been deported back to Canada and lost their right to stay in the U.S. because they've been supporting like gang or gangs and stuff like that.
There's a lad in the UK as well that's been put in prison for a rap about he was rapping in Arabic, I think, or either Arabic or Hebrew. I think it might have been Arabic though, about the Palestinians. He didn't even understand what he was saying, and he was put in. He's been.
So the UK doesn't have the same police
And
protection.
I don't know about the UK. I can't speak to the UK. I'm sorry, but to talk to you, Evan, when were they deported?
Like from what I've seen, there was a case in 2010 for I forget his name, but it was
okay. I disagree
something.
with those cases. I think that was wrong. That the American government, if what you're saying is true, and I'm just going to grant you, if that this was the reason they were deported, I think that's wrong and that's a shame. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't repeat our mistakes.
Wait, just to be clear, were they deported because of the rap lyrics, or were they deported because of gang affiliation?
I'd say it was a collection of things, like some of the stuff that
kill someone?
did off.
So it's not comparable.
Okay.
Like there's, I will say for like rapping and stuff like that, a lot of rappers like gloat about the stuff they do, and it leads the police to go and say, "Hey, they have drugs." If they're rapping about drugs,
but if we're saying that one person shouldn't be deported for rapping along to a song, and then you bring up, oh well, there was another guy another rapper who got deported because he was rapping a particular song, and because he was affiliated with like 3 gangs in Chicago. It's like that's a way different situation than the one that we're talking about.
I just want to say Ryan finally got back on. Somebody paid.
That's sexy.
This goes down in Gauntlet history because it never works this way. So shout out to Alexander for the first
Thank you, Alex.
Ryan buyback. And also they said looking at construction worker wages in the last 5 years, they have gone up like 27%. I feel like 007 is a lying turkey.
Again, he's talking about the UK. This might be
lying
different in the
turkey?
UK. I don't know.
Well, the immigrants raised it 50%.
I haven't been in the UK for 12 years, so I don't know. In the last, I'm talking about 2004, 2005.
I mean,
in
again, I do want to
2004, the
mention
immigrants raised the minimum. The immigrants decreased wages by 50%.
When I went back to construction, I was earning 50% less than I was when I was in there before I had my car accident and went to prison.
You understand that there's
how do we know that was legal
factors
immigration?
that can contribute to your
Right.
wage
Yeah, quite
decrease.
possibly. But I also know that the construction sites were full and are full now. Like all of the subcontractors. For my friend works in construction. She's an RLO. regional liaison officer who liaises between the contractors, the subcontractors, and the clients. And every single they're all immigrants. She said they are the only English people. The only English people are the bosses.
Wait, hold on. Are they all immigrants or are they all brown?
No, they're all immigrants. They're Romanian.
How do you know that they're immigrants?
They're Romanians.
Did you check their papers?
I can attest to what Double O's talking about.
You mentioned earlier, like, oh, why do high school dropouts, wages deserve to be dropped anyway? And like, even if I take your argument at face value that construction wages dropped 50%, which I just don't think is true, and I don't think it's because of immigration. I mean, like, when the price of an input falls, production increases, right? Businesses can make more things.
I can attest to what 007.
Hold on, construction is an input to everything, right? So if construction wages go down, that means construction companies can construct more things, and that means businesses can expand easier. There's a good paper from 2020 in Minneapolis that finds it was looking at
everybody's wages. Why don't they just reduce everybody's wages so they can bring the cost of everything down?
But again, this paper from Minneapolis in 2020 found that they were looking at immigrants who came over who don't have a high school degree, and they found these immigrants do take more from welfare. Oh, God damn it, Coder, rip.
Okay, so I apologize. I was going to wait. I was just going to let that sit there non-fawn, but since you did stop, thank you. I appreciate it. They already were shooting the shots, and it wasn't enough yet to match the 50 that came up. But the full 100 here at the Gauntlet.
Like one sentence.
And yeah, I will. Bear with me a second. So Gully gave a full 100, which here is a full boot. However, we can give it a few minutes. I'll after you say your thing, we'll give it a few minutes, and somebody can buy it back. Okay, they can match the boot. It does have to be a full 100, but they can match it and buy you back up. But outside of that, that does mean you are done for the evening. So.
Yeah.
Presuming nobody's going to do that, Ryan, I will give you the floor to say your goodbyes.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, play the dog. Play the boy, you're weak.
That's a gorgeous dog, man.
Wait,
what?
You're back in the game.
Oh, shit.
You're universally hated. Congratulations, Coder, bro.
Wow, that's another second. I thought you were a Connor for sure,
Me too.
Ryan.
I thought it was over.
I really thought.
Soy latte now. So
the thing I was going to say, I didn't even realize Evan wasn't still up here, but I was going to call him out for calling Mamdani a radical Islamist. I thought that was a insanely racist and
well, he is a communist.
I don't think he's a communist. I don't think he's a radical Islamist. I think it's insane to say. And we got
you didn't see the dance they were doing? Oh my god!
Again, here's Umbreon. Look, if you guys. Well, obviously, people have very strong feelings about me either way, positive or negative. People have donated a lot of money to see me go back and forth tonight. So if you want to check out me and Umbreon more, you can go to my channel, Radical Coder, like and subscribe. Make sure you support Sarah at the Gauntlet and on the Raging Tomato. Much love to her and most of the people on the panel. Thank you all.
All right, I'll give it a couple minutes, Ryan, backstage. If anybody chooses to revive, they've got a few minutes to do so. If not, we'll say goodbye. Okay. Wow, that's crazy, Alexander. You threw me off there on that one. You threw me off there. Hardcore. I've never seen Ryan get bought back up, and I especially haven't seen him get bought back up after a full boot. And while we're on that, and then after this, I'll hand it back to you, Nanfan. The Incredible Hawk says with the Big Ten, why do libs only seem to get upset at people who try to enforce the law and never the people who broken it or enabled it in the first place? Like the Biden admin and his migrant caravans. And before you answer anybody, Ryan, you not only are bought back, sir, but you got an extra layer.
$500.
Damn.
Holy.
That's insane. Rin, what are you doing, buddy? You're my
I think you should
whale.
get a word.
Okay?
You need to
I'm little
deliver a
jealous
speech.
tonight, but that's okay.
What does Alexander like about
We
Coder?
like you, Rin. No, support.
Well,
Great.
earlier,
How's it
Alexander said it wasn't about. Hold on, and I missed it because it was a thing here. He said because we hit the boots, but he said couldn't care less about Ryan just ruining JB Peltier's night. Also, 2004, and that question was to you, Mr. Bond. At least that's what the chat is calling you, 007. And then I stupidly said, "Who's Mr. Bond?" Not thinking of the 007.
It's double. Oh.
I think this is just good advice, it's a good demonstration of how being a grounded, polarizing figure can be very beneficial. You know, I encourage people to speak their truth in spite of the haters and losers who want to silence you. Just stay strong and like hold your ground, because you know it always it comes back around. You know, and I appreciate everyone who's supporting the channel both ways.
Thank you, Ryan. I do appreciate it. I know you obviously are benefiting in other ways, but you being here all the time always helps me out. You are a very strong support network of the show. And Evan Lord says, and Nanfan, I know I interrupted you a minute ago, so I will allow you to finish your thought bubble, and then we'll put you to the back. Kicking out Nanfan because he thinks humans are purely economic units. Globalists and metropolitans are evil for their host countries. Go ahead, Nanfan, spit it out, and then you get 5 in the back.
Yeah, I love globalism. Globalism is the best thing ever. We should have open borders and free trade with every country ever. But real quick, okay, last thing, finishing my thing. Okay, there's a good study, 2020, Minneapolis, looking at immigrants who came over without a high school degree. They find that although they did have negative, or they took more from benefits and taxes on directly, when you account for the indirect effects they have, because as I mentioned earlier, you know, if they reduce construction wages, let's say, just accept that argument. Construction is an input for everything. Businesses can build more things, and that added activity actually it makes them net fiscal contributors. So, accounting for the indirect effects, they actually contribute I think it's like $700 annually to the government.
Link the study.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough. All right, Nanfan, 5 minutes in the back for you, sir.
Can I say 2 things real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So the first thing is that I think it's funny that conservatives will make an economic argument against immigration, and then whenever somebody gives an economic argument back, they just call them a globalist and say that like people aren't money. You know, don't make economic arguments about immigration if you don't want them refuted. And then the second part is that to respond to the one dude who said, "Why does it seem like all liberals just want to criticize people enforcing the law?" The problem is that the person who is enforcing the law is also breaking the laws in order to enforce the laws. The invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was probably illegal. The way that he was going through it was absolutely illegal. There's like a myriad amount of like injunctions that are being put on the president and pauses that are being put on the president. So that's why.
Has the courts ruled on that yet? For you to say it's illegal?
Yep. JGG versus Trump and WMM versus Trump. Go read.
Have they been settled already?
Yep. Supreme Court rulings.
Thank you, Rin.
Said he couldn't use that?
Huh?
Oh, sorry. Just
The Supreme Court said he couldn't invoke that act?
No, it wasn't criticizing the invocation. It was criticizing the deportations using the Alien Enemies Act because they were robbing people of their due process rights.
Well, just the other, was it 2 days ago, yesterday? Whatever it was, Supreme Court just